Okay, for this question we have find the perimeter of rectangle LINT. So if we want to find the perimeter of LINT, we need to know the height and the width. All right. Here, let's go ahead and set up all three triangles. 1, 2, and 3. We have the first one, the second one, and the third one. Right. If I look at this one here, okay, this right here, it's actually Y. So this 90-degree angle will be Y. This one will also be Y. If I take a look at this one here, this right here will be what point? L. And this one should be T. If I look at the next one here, all right, which one is N?
The one, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And this should be what?
T.
T. Okay. And then if we look at the big one, this will be what?
I messed up.
TN. No.
T.
No,
Right.
I.
Yeah, that's I.
That's I.
No, this is T.
What?
What's an I?
Oh, so we're looking.
Which one are you looking at?
This one, the big
Aren't
one.
there technically 4 triangles?
So there's 4 triangles.
I thought there was 3.
There were.
There are 4, but I'm focusing on this one here.
Oh.
You see it? So this will be what? T. And let's go ahead and put 1 as
Find the answer.
L. And let's go ahead and put this T. N, I'm sorry, N. All right. So we have that. Let's go ahead and fill in the blank. All right. Let's go ahead and fill in the blank. When we fill in the blank, we have TY 3.9, and we have LY, which is 5.2. Correct? So once we have that, all right, we need to go ahead. We need to solve for this over here. How do we do that? All right. So we have a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay. And if we have that, okay, one more thing, I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and make sure you guys understand this. If we take a look at this part right here, I need you guys to think outside the box. Let me make sure I wrote it correctly before I proceed, all right? We know that this angle here, all right, will be the same as this angle over here. Why? All right, you see this right here? We know that this angle here will be the same as this angle over here. Why? They're alternate interior angles, right? We have 2 parallel lines crossed by a transversal. And we know that this angle here will be the same as this angle here. So if we want to use the bigger triangle, okay, we know that if we take a look at this right here, we have T here, we have L, let's go ahead and make this 1, and then we have Y here. If we have this here, all right, that means this N cannot be the same. This N has to actually go here. All right, N has to go here, and this right here is actually T. Okay, I need to make sure I fixed it correct. Do you guys understand that part? Yes? Or did I lose anyone?
I know.
All right, so this is what happens. If we take a look at this triangle here, all right, we cannot say, for instance, we know for a fact that L must be congruent. I'm sorry, let me make sure. T, L, Y has to be congruent to what? L, N, I.
Yeah.
Correct? So this angle, these 2 angles cannot be congruent.
I'm confused, Mr. Christian.
Okay. Let me see if I can make this better. Let's break it down right here. Angle T L Y, right, is congruent because we said this right here is the same thing as this one here, right? Why? Because they're what? Alternate interior angles. So we're going to go ahead and say L and I. correct? All right, so if we take a look at this part here, then if that's the case, we could safely assume that whatever this angle is going to be here, I'm not sure what degree it is, but we know that these two are the same. So if these two are the same and this is a right angle, then we could say that this, I could go ahead and make two lines like that. All right, so if that's the case, whatever this, let's say if this angle is, let's say 30 degrees, then this one has to be what? 60, correct? Yes or no? So again, if this is 30 degrees, this has to be 60. Well, let's assume, we're assuming here, if this is 30 degrees, what should this one be here? 60 degrees. You understand that? So if we take a look at this, if this is 30 degrees, this has to be what? 30 degrees. This one has to be what? 60 degrees. If this is a 90-degree angle, then this has to be a what? 30 degrees. So if we take a look at this part now, we take a look at this one, angle L, let's say is 30 degrees, then this one, T, has to be 60 degrees. If we take a look at the second triangle, which is what? N, Y, T, T has to be the 30 degrees. That's why it's over here on this corner over here. And then N has to be 60 degrees according to what you guys told me. Is that correct? That's why it had to change. And then let's take a look at this one, the big one. Let's make sure I did it correctly. This is T here. 60 degrees has to go here. That's why it's N. That's 60 degrees. And L, which you guys told me was what? 30 degrees. So notice that all 60, 30, 60, 30, we have the correct label for each vertices. If you don't have the correct label for each vertices, then your proportions will be wrong. Did you understand that out there? Okay, we just got to work on it. So this is 3.9, this is 5.2. We're actually getting right here, the hypotenuse over here. This will be 3.9 squared plus 5.2 squared is equal to C squared. 3.9 squared is what? 15.21 plus 5.2 squared is
27.04.
we combine these two to give us
42.25.
42.25. And then what do we do with the, you square both sides.
6.5.
This gives you C to be 6.5. So we know that TL is 6.5. Correct? So here we could label this as 6.5. And we also know, if we take a look at this right, we have TY. TY here is going to be 3.9. We need to find out TN. So TN is this question mark over here. Is that correct? So now we need to have a proportion. Well, we could use this here and we could use this here. That would be my proportion there. So once we get this proportion over here, we have what? 6.5 over 5.2 is equal to x over 3.9. And then once we cross multiply these two, 6.5 times 3.9, and we take that and divide it by 5.2, we get 4.875 is equal to x. If we round it to the nearest hundreds, all right, hundreds will be here, it will be 4.88. All right. Well, if it's 4.88, the question says find the perimeter. So if we find the perimeter, this is 4.88. This side, which is TL, going back here, TL, according to this, TL is what? 6.5. This has to be 6.5. This has to be 4.88. We add all of those up and see what we get. We should get a total of what? 22.75 should be your answer.
But what do we need to know, like, the angular measures?
To set them up in the correct position.
Oh,
See, for instance, right here, when I set it up in the beginning, I assumed and I set it up wrong.
okay.
If you assume, okay, this, remember I told you I put over here N and I put over here T, that's wrong. You know? Why? Because then I would have put 3.9 over here instead. And that would have been wrong. I would have used the different numbers instead. You know? So that's why it's important.